I said, I feel no signs. I don't think you heard me.
Yeah, I heard you.
I feel no signs.
Lou Della Evans Reid, a name that once echoed through the sanctuaries of Chicago and far beyond, is no longer with us. The woman whose voice built choirs, whose leadership gave structure to gospel music, and whose quiet strength shaped generations, has passed away at the age of 94. The gospel world is mourning not just the loss of a person, but the end of an era, and her final words, whispered softly in her last hours, are now ringing louder than ever. Tell them, keep singing. But who was Lou Della Evans Reid? What made her different from other choir directors, and why does her story touch so many hearts? The answers lie not only in her long and disciplined career, but in the emotional weight she carried, the battles she fought in silence, and the legacy she left behind that continues to inspire musicians, worshipers, and believers around the world. Lou Della was born in 1930 on the south side of Chicago. She grew up in a house filled with faith, surrounded by the rhythms of church life and the strength of spiritual community. Her family wasn't rich in material things, but they were deeply rooted in ministry and music. Her brother, Reverend Clay Evans, would become one of the most influential pastors in modern church history. But even before he rose to national prominence, Lou Della was already making waves. As a child, her voice stood out. She had a natural ability to move people with her tone and control, even before she understood what it meant to minister. By her teenage years, it was clear she was no ordinary singer. But she wasn't content to simply sing. She wanted to lead. That ambition wasn't about power. It was about purpose. She wanted to shape the music that lifted souls and changed lives. She took the reins of the music ministry at Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, and for over 5 decades, she remained its guiding force. Under her direction, the church choir transformed from a local ensemble into one of the most respected gospel choirs in the nation. Lou Della's approach was spiritual, strict, and soulful. She blended traditional gospel harmonies with modern sounds while maintaining the deep-rooted message of salvation. Her rehearsals were known for their intensity. She demanded discipline. She expected perfection, but her sternness was always balanced with warmth and care. She had an uncanny ability to hear what a singer couldn't. She could pull power from the timid and refine raw talent into something divine. Many of today's greatest gospel voices, from local stars to national recording artists, either sang under her, were inspired by her, or were shaped by the choirs she trained. But Lou Della's influence went far beyond music. She was a quiet pioneer. In an era where women in church leadership were often sidelined or ignored, she stood firm. She didn't preach from the pulpit, but her music often carried more conviction than a sermon. She led in a male-dominated environment, often without the recognition or support given to her male peers. While guest preachers were honored publicly, flown in, and compensated generously, Lou Della often worked behind the scenes with minimal acknowledgement. Still, she never stopped. For her, gospel music wasn't just art, it was calling. And that calling came with costs. Over the years, she watched friends pass away. She dealt with heartbreaks, betrayals, and the emotional toll of constant service. Some choir members left the church, some due to personal failures, others out of disillusionment. Lou Della carried it all. When the applause ended, when the sanctuary was empty, she went home to silence. But she never allowed grief or fatigue to stop her. She kept showing up, because for her, the ministry was everything. She lived through seasons of change. The world of gospel music began to evolve. The lights got brighter, the productions grew larger, and many churches shifted toward performance over purpose. But Lou Della remained true to her roots. She didn't need lasers or fog machines. Her power came from the harmony of voices united in faith. Even as age began to wear on her body, her passion never faded. Her voice grew softer, her pace slowed, but her spirit remained unshaken. In her 80s, when most people would retreat into retirement, she was still mentoring, still directing, still investing in the next generation. She knew her time was limited, so she became intentional about passing on her legacy. She wrote down her methods, she gave private lessons, she opened her heart to young leaders and poured her wisdom into them. Then, in 2018, something incredible happened. At the age of 88, Lou Della returned to the stage for a tribute concert in Chicago. It wasn't supposed to be a major event, but when word spread that she would direct again, the church was packed. Choir members from decades past gathered. Pastors and artists traveled from other cities. Gospel legends sat in the pews. The air was electric. When she walked onto the stage, the room went silent. Her body moved slower than it once had, but her eyes were sharp. She raised her hand, and the choir responded immediately. As they sang, "Oh, How I Love Jesus," people began to cry. Some lifted their hands, others fell to their knees. It wasn't just a song, it was a moment of spiritual revival. Then she spoke. Not about herself, not about her years of service, but to the younger generation. She said, "Don't sing for applause, sing for souls. Don't do this to be seen. Do it so people can see God." Her voice was shaky, but her words were clear. That message rippled through the room. Artists later said it changed the course of their lives. Choir leaders called it the most anointed service they'd ever witnessed. As the choir sang her signature arrangement of "He's Got the Whole World in His Hands," she lifted her arms. Her eyes closed. Tears fell from her cheeks. Those who were there said it looked as if she was already beginning to pass something on. A spiritual baton. That night would be her final major public appearance. In the years that followed, Lou Della's health declined quietly. She battled complications related to aging, but she never complained. Instead, she worked behind the scenes. She ensured her music would be preserved. She gave her personal collection of handwritten arrangements to a digital archive. She met with young directors one-on-one. She was building a future she wouldn't get to see, but one she believed in deeply. By early 2024, some began to hear whispers that her health had worsened. But the gospel community remained quiet out of respect. There were no dramatic posts or news leaks, just prayers. Then in July 2025, the news broke. Lou Della Evans Reid had passed away peacefully. She was 94. The reaction was immediate. Choir rehearsals across Chicago stopped mid-song. Churches held spontaneous worship gatherings. Her music filled the streets. Black and white photos circulated online. Old performance clips were reposted. The gospel world paused. But this wasn't just a loss for the church. Political leaders, civil rights icons, and national figures issued statements. Chicago's mayor declared a day of remembrance. Donald Lawrence posted a tearful tribute. Kirk Franklin shared an old video of her choir, writing, "She taught us how to sing Heaven Down." Chance the Rapper tweeted, "We lost a giant. Rest in power." Her homegoing service was monumental. Thousands gathered in one of Chicago's largest churches. Fans came from across the Midwest. The streets outside the church overflowed with mourners. Choirs sang her favorite songs in powerful harmony. The service felt more like a gospel concert than a funeral. It was a celebration of a life well lived. Then came the most surprising moment. After the service, her family revealed a piece of her will. Lou Della had secretly created a scholarship fund. She called it the Whole Choir Scholarship. It was designed for young women in underfunded churches who wanted to become music directors. She had quietly saved money for years to support this cause. The fund would help them pay for vocal training, music theory classes, and even travel to church rehearsals and events. The gospel community was stunned. She had planned this quietly, without telling anyone, even as her health declined. She had also donated her entire music library to a public archive. Thousands of pages, notes in the margins, vocal arrangements. Her life's work, now available to the world. Her granddaughter spoke at the final memorial gathering. She said, "My grandmother didn't want fame. She wanted to make sure the choir never died." Those words hit hard. Already, schools have started teaching her music. Choirs are performing her arrangements in tribute concerts. Her teachings are being quoted in worship workshops. Young leaders are walking into churches with her influence guiding them. She may be gone, but her work is alive. Then came one final detail. A nurse who was by her side during her final hours said that Lou Della whispered something, barely audible, but unmistakable. "Tell them, keep singing." Those were her last words. And with that, the matriarch of gospel music took her final breath, not in silence, but in harmony. Lou Della Evans Reid didn't chase fame. She never sought out the spotlight. Her name isn't on record charts or on TV shows, but her fingerprints are on the spirit of gospel music. She reminded us that worship wasn't about performance, it was about presence. She led choirs that brought people to tears, not because of talent alone, but because of truth. Her ministry was one of melody. Her pulpit was the choir loft. Her sermons were in the sound. She showed that you don't have to be on a stage to lead. You don't need a microphone to change lives. You only need a heart devoted to service and a voice willing to be used by God. Her life was a song. Her goodbye was its final note. And now, every time a choir rises to sing, her spirit sings with them. Every harmony echoes her heart. Every young director stepping into leadership is walking in her footsteps. Lou Della Evans Reid may have died at 94, but her legacy has only begun. And as she said, keep singing.